Hello, everyone. This lesson is over the product rule. We're looking at some exponential expressions. Now, if you recall, the larger number is the base, and the floating numbers are the exponents or powers. So in pink, I've highlighted the base. And if the bases are the same, you're allowed to simplify the expression via multiplication. Remember, the dot is multiplication. So in expanded form, you take the first two threes and you write them out. Remember, the exponent that floats in the air tells you how many times you're multiplying the base. So 3 to the second is 3 times 3, indicated in blue. 3 to the fifth is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, indicated in the red. And if you collect them all together via multiplication, you actually end up with 7 threes. So the simplified version is 3 to the 7th power. We can do that again. 2 has an invisible power of 1. So we have 2. That happens one time. And then there's 6 more 2s. 2 to the 6 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. All together, we're left with 7 2s. So that's simplified as 2 to the 7th. And then if we have b to the 5th, that's 5 b's. Times b to the 8th, that's 8 b's. And all together, that gives us 13 b's. So you would write b to the 13th. So what's the pattern? Look at the table above. Compare the first column that I'm circling with the third column. Using words, describe the relationship. So you can say that the third column results from adding the exponents in the first column. Okay, so if you are multiplying, this is huge. If you are multiplying exponential expressions that have the same base, you add the exponents, add the floating numbers, the powers. Okay, when I use exponents and powers interchangeably in this case. Basically, if the big numbers are the same and you're multiplying them, you add the powers, and that simplifies them. This can be written as a to the m times a to the n. Okay, so we have the same bases, a to the m times a to the n. You're going to add the powers. So that becomes a to the m plus n. Now that only works if the bases are the same. If it was a to the m times b to the n, you wouldn't be able to do anything. But if the bases are the same, then you combine them by adding the exponents. That's called the product rule. So let's use it to simplify some expressions. So here we have x to the 4th, x to the 3rd. My bases are the same. They're being multiplied. That's what this dot means. So 4 plus 3, that's x to the 7th. Okay. Then we have n to the 3rd times, it's got to be times, n to the 5th, that's n to the 3 plus 5, or n to the 8. And let me just stop and say product is a word for the answer you get when you multiply values. And we are multiplying terms, but the way you do that is you add the powers. So don't get confused. We're multiplying, but we make that happen by adding powers. Okay, on this one, we have actually 3 terms. That's okay. There's an invisible 1 there. that yields x to the 2 plus 6 plus 1 is x to the 9. Hopefully with practice this becomes easier. All right, so on D, we're actually, we have two different variables, so I'm going to color code to distinguish between the variables. Why won't that go away? Kind of being contrary. All right, so I'm color coding just to help me understand. So it's x to the 4th plus the invisible 1 plus the 2, and then y to the 2 plus 4 plus 5. And you write it side to side. So it's x to the 7th, y to the 11th. All right, you write them side to side. When you stick letters together like that, I like to say you're sticking together with multiplication glue. The last example is a little trickier. Notice how we have two regular numbers. I'll call them coefficients. Oops, I meant to highlight. So we have two regular numbers, and you just treat them like regular numbers. 4 times 3, switching between colors there. And we have the A's, and then we have B's. So 4 times 3, they're coefficients. Just multiply them like normal. Remember, we've been multiplying this whole time, but you multiply by adding the powers. These are just coefficients, so you just multiply them. And then you get A to the 3 plus 2. That's how you multiply, is you add the powers. B to the 5 plus 3. And you get 12. 4 times 3 is 12. A, 5, B, 8. All right, so the trick there is to recognize, hey, those are just coefficients. They're in front of the letters. So you just multiply them like normal. And then you add the powers for the A and the B.